Okay, it is 6:30. I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Here.
Ms. Vallow?
Here.
Mr. Brooks?
Here.
Mr. Rummel?
Here.
Ms. Cotton? Here. Ms. Wood?
Here.
Ms. Tyler?
Here. Thank you. Okay, if you'd like to stand for the pledge, please feel free to do so. Where's the flag? Oh, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of Thank you.
Our mission in partnership with Home and Community is to educate each individual child in a safe and nurturing environment. We will foster respect, self-worth, teach skills relevant to contemporary life, to promote academic success and creative expression. We will encourage the appreciation of rich culture, diversity in our community. We will instill a sense of wonder for the future to enable our students to become lifelong learners, responsible citizens of the world. I also remember what to thank you. Thank you. Forest Park Public School District 91
will be acknowledged by all
as a safe and nurturing
and diverse learning community
that establishes the highest standards for innovation
and continuous improvement to achieve excellence
and global citizenship for each individual child. Recognizing the systemic bias that has plagued our educational system, we commit to nurturing dialogue around all issues of inequity, including culture, race, faith, socio-economic status, gender identity, sexual orientation, and different ability, as they pertain to classroom practices, school and school district structures, and policies and procedures. We support actions removing barriers to opportunities that will allow children to reach their full potential.
We, Forest Park Board of Education, would like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Peoria, Potawatomi, Maya, Sioux, and Kickapoo people, and pay our respects to the elders, both past and present.
Thank you. Okay, 5, our consent agenda items. Is there anything that anyone would like taken off the consent agenda? May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second, please.
I'll second.
Thanks. And a roll call?
Mr. Lyons?
Aye.
Ms. Vallow?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Mr. Rummel?
Aye.
Ms. Cotton? Aye. Ms. Wood?
Aye.
Ms. Tyler?
Aye. Thank you. Okay, 6, correspondence, please. Is there any? Oh, okay. Great. Matters of consideration from the public. Ms. Barnes? No? I'm just going to look at all of you like, would you like to make a public comment? Okay. We will move along. 8, superintendent's report. Dr. Alvarez, go ahead.
Sure, I'm going to start off with some recognitions. On March 14th, from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., our primary art club will be displaying their work at the Forest Park Library. This will be an art gallery night at the library. All are invited to view their art and receive light refreshments. And we really want to thank Ms. Brazzini for her efforts in getting this started for our young artist. I also want to acknowledge our social workers. It is Social Work Appreciation Week this week, and Social Worker Day is on March 21st. Thank you to Andrea Coco, David Droy, Lucia Suarez, Maddie Pirelli for all their support and all they do academically, socially, and emotionally. And I'm hoping that everyone could take some time and thank our social workers this month. And I also want to acknowledge Amelia Whitebone, our D91 Spelling Bee champion from our Forest Park Middle School advanced to regionals for the 2023 Scripps Spelling Bee. What a way to represent D91. and we want to continue to cheer her on to hopefully the championship. All right, moving on, we are going to start to do our presentation on Leading for Equity conference that was attended 2 weekends ago. Just let me know.
Press my button. Okay, good evening. On behalf of all of us who were able to attend the Leadership Institute for Equity, we would like to thank you for the opportunity. As well, we would like to thank you for allowing us a few minutes this evening to briefly share our takeaways from the Institute. There were 8 of us who attended, led by Dr. Alvarez, including all building principals, Mr. Edler, and we were fortunate enough to have 2 board members with us, Ms. Cotton Yancey and Mrs. Woods, to attend and collaborate together. Here are some of the topics that we worked through during the Institute. Some of these will be shared a little bit more in depth with from my colleagues this evening. Began on a Thursday evening with diversity rounds and listening. All day Friday was spent on equity leadership, liberatory design mindsets, oppression and systems of unearned advantage and disadvantaged, and freedom dreaming. Saturday was spent on implicit bias and strategies to counteract bias, changing the discourse and emotions and healing. And Sunday we wrapped up with tapping into your agency. These were our hosts for the weekend. I would like to mention Colum there on the right. He had come to District 91 a few years ago and worked with the staff on an Institute Day. So it was very nice to reconnect with him. Zach on the bottom left did a wonderful job in bringing us mentally and spiritually into our workspace and recognizing the native land on which we were gathering. And Mark on the bottom center, he was the leader for the weekend and was kind to keep track of the late arrivals due to travel issues and checked with them and made them feel welcome when they arrived. One of the ideas that stuck with me, if you would switch, was this. Those who practice leadership for equity must confront, disappoint, and dismantle, and at the same time, energize, inspire, and empower. Think about that for a moment. That is a huge task. And this is why we needed the Institute and why we need to continue to work together as an ensemble to support one another and do this necessary work. We have all heard the coined phrase, safe space. This is what we believe we need to provide in order to share and discuss experiences. But we learned at the Institute that what is really needed is a necessary space. It can be safe, you can feel brave, but we must provide the necessary space. And another takeaway along with that while we provide the necessary space, it needs the focus to be on the impact and of the work and not the intentions of the work. Some really profound concepts and ideas to me that I took away. The work that we need to do, both sides of that, making sure the space is necessary, that we provide that space, and that everyone come and they feel safe and they feel brave to be a part of that space. So at this time, I'm going to let Mrs. Bogdan come up and share her takeaways from the weekend. Thank you.
Good evening. So continuing with that necessary space, a key piece of the conference was on listening. We can all probably think of the different types of listening there are and the type of listener we are ourselves, from active listening to passive listening, argumentative listening. But our focus during the conference was on constructivist listening. It was during these moments, during the work, that I felt that I was connecting the most. In constructivist listening, it is all about the speaker, giving them the space, uninterrupted. As the listener, I found myself really focusing and hearing what was being said because I didn't think about responding or connecting it to myself. I was able to be in the moment, which connects to one of our D91 norms. Each person in a constructive listening structure has equal time to talk. They listen without interrupting, giving advice, breaking in with a personal story. And for a talker, that's really hard to do. So it was really good work. Maintaining confidentiality, what is shared in this experience is between those two people, and does not criticize or complain about others during their time to talk. Benefits of constructivist listening start from the bottom with reflection and work its way up the triangle or the pyramid to taking action. And that is a big focus of the conference was on that reflection piece, the exploration, expression, release of emotion and healing, constructing that new meaning so that we can move forward to the top and make that action happen. And some key ideas that we took away, authentic listening is foundational in equity leadership skill and in this work. It takes intentional practice to listen with care and attention to others. People are experts in their own experience, and their experience is not up for debate. People have untapped reservoirs of knowledge, skill, and will waiting to be awakened. And listening supports us to slow down. That was another big takeaway. There's so much that we want to do, but to take the time to listen, to pace ourselves, it's not this big race we all have to get to the end, but to slow down, to really listen, and build in that self-reflection and that self-awareness, which coming out of the conference was my biggest takeaway and what I hope to bring back to my building and the district. With that, I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Cass. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm here to present on understanding implicit bias and the unconscious mind. This piece was really important to me, especially because it gave a more concrete or scientific reason for why we have implicit bias. And it takes us to this unconscious mind, which our unconscious mind is a process that's estimated at 11 million pieces of information per second. Unconscious, 11 million pieces of information per second. Think about how huge that is, okay? And our implicit bias comes from our experiences, the images that we encounter, and it's our unconscious mind that makes assumptions about those experiences and images. The definition of implicit bias here is the process of associating stereotypes or attitudes toward categories of people without conscious awareness. It can result in actions or decisions that go against your own values. How does it work? Okay. There's a cycle. It goes through priming, plus associations, plus assumptions that lead to actions. What do we mean by priming? Priming is the receiving of information, images and messages, and experiences. And we make patterns and associations from what we see or hear among our family, friends, and community. The more you see things together, the faster you associate them. That unconscious mind makes rapid-fire associations between people and values and beliefs. Those can either be positive, negative, or more specific. And the mind is constantly sorting and coding while the body is responding. The unconscious assumptions have an impact on our decision-making and actions. I'm going to let you read this quote on the next slide. No quote. Okay, sorry, there's missing a slide there. So the quote talks about many different avenues where information is being thrown at us. We see things through TV, news, social media. All of those things are taken in unconsciously and being absorbed. And some of those things could lead to, sorry, next slide. Okay, any number of areas where the implicit bias is activated. And these are just a few of them. Okay. I want to close with saying that there is good news, though. We can influence our unconscious and build new associations. It does take time. There were a number of strategies that were provided to us during the session, but one thing that really stood out to me is that we need to counteract that implicit bias, and the most important way to do that is to practice self-awareness. Be self-observant and non-defensive. Thank you.
And so as we are thinking about this, some of the questions we have been given are we still doing equity? So we need to be living and building capacity, and that needs to influence our work and how we recognize our sphere of influence and who else is watching so that they are too learning. Equity is not something that we do. Rather, equity is who we are, our values, beliefs, how we influence the systems in which we operate, and the people with whom we share space. We model in ways to apply an equity lens with transparency. When we apply an equity lens, we become better leaders, develop greater intentionality in our decision-making, and engage in actions to interrupt ideologies of supremacy and dominance that perpetuate systemic oppression within our district. And then here you will see that it takes a lot of courage to really look into the mirror and understand just what was being said about implicit bias, that what is it that we are doing, and finally saying, you know what, I'm really going to start priming myself and understanding and disassociating some of the stereotypes or biases that were put in place from the time we were born, thought they were normal, and then making sure that we are actually becoming well-adjusted to why we became well-adjusted to injustice.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. I think about that last question, how did we become so well-adjusted to injustice? And my section is on accountability. And reflecting on accountability, one of the individuals that I had the opportunity to get to know over the course of the time that we were there shared with me her exhaustion and how tired she is of doing this work decade after decade, and just really wanted to impress, I think, upon me and others that she's counting on her white siblings to be accountable, to step up and take this work on, to disrupt and dismantle these systematic oppression. So when we think about our work in equity, we almost always come back to this very common metaphor of mirrors and windows, and some ways I guess it's sort of overused. I mean, I've been hearing about windows and mirrors for 20 years. But when we really stop and slow down and reconnect with this metaphor, really all of the work that we do in equity can be correlated with this idea of mirrors and windows. And we think about them, I think what really struck me here is the idea of invitation and opportunity. And when we look in a mirror, what invitation is that inviting? And what opportunity do we have? It's this invitation for us to look deeply within ourselves and an opportunity to learn by thinking about what is it, our identity, our beliefs, our experiences, everything that we are, that affect our actions and how we relate with the world around us. On the other side of this, on the mirror, this is what we see looking outward. This is our invitation and opportunity to understand our context outside of us, to also understand and get a window and insights into others who are in our world. But in many ways, our work in equity really is dependent upon the self-awareness that we can develop, because that really provides us the opportunity to develop a deeper capacity to understand and empathize with what's outside of us in that window. If we just go back for one moment, I wanted to highlight on either side of the slide here, I've included some liberatory mindset cards, and these are a really critical part of the work with the National Equity Project, and using these on a regular basis within my role. On the left side, looking in a mirror really connects with that liberatory mindset of practicing self-awareness, and on the right side, looking out the window and connecting it to this liberatory mindset of attending to healing, which I'm going to circle back to in a couple of slides. So what if accountability wasn't scary? It will never be easy or comfortable, but what if it wasn't scary? What if our own accountability wasn't something that we ran from, but something that we ran towards and desired, appreciated, and held as sacred? What if we cherished opportunities to take accountability as precious opportunities to practice liberation, to practice love? You can go to the next one. So when I think about accountability, not from a punitive sense, because oftentimes we think about being accountable means there must be some sort of punishment or punitive action that's taken, and that's not really the sense of accountability that is being considered here. This is really more of thinking about accountability as a way to maximize opportunity. Some of the actions that we can take, those accountable actions, to do our best to dismantle systems of oppression with the understanding that we are immersed in them. And oftentimes we don't even recognize them because it's this water that we're swimming in. But it's so important to recognize that the water that we're swimming in so many ways is polluted with this oppression and racism and injustices that we have grown to be accustomed to. Also, to not succumb to the tactics of the oppressors or crush people with your urgency, taking actions to hold ourselves accountable and create conditions, routines, and I would say also to practice those conditions and routines for collective accountability. And maybe the last one is the most important when it comes to really being accountable, and that is that we have to remain ego distant. We have to be a constant learner and to show humility. So when we're reflecting back in that mirror and we've got these opportunities, not being defensive, but really looking at them as a way of learning, a way of growing, expanding our own capacity and humanity. So lastly, with that, going back to the window and mirror metaphor, the need to attend to healing, to recognize that humanity, to recognize that we are all swimming in this water together, and that we all have opportunities for healing, and we are all impacted by oppression, racism, injustice, and inequity.
Good evening. How we doing? All right. So the Leading for Equity core framework is a healing framework, and it consists of 3 components, which are see, engage, and act. And so equity leadership involves us being able to, it moves from the inside out, right? It's doing that inside work. So it speaks to what Mr. Edler just talked about with the mirror in the window. It speaks to what Ms. Cass talked about with being self-aware. In order to really do this work, I think you have to be self-aware and you have to be very vulnerable. And that's often challenging for people. We don't like to be vulnerable. We need to be human, and it's okay to be human and let our students, our staff, our families see that we are human. So for me, I left the Institute with these 3 things in my head about, see, engage, and act. And so thinking about how we see informs how we engage, and in turn informs how we act. And so we just need to be mindful of that. And so when we see, if you notice, it really says recognize. It's understanding the territory that we're navigating. So understanding the world we live in, understanding the systems of oppression, understanding white privilege, white fragility, all of that, the injustices that Black and brown people face. And so with that, once we can have a clear vision and we recognize these things, and they say when you know better, you do better, but I think when you recognize these things, there's this level of discomfort and fear, which is one of the other liberatory mindsets that we didn't talk about, but it's part of the fear, the self-aware, and all of that. But there's this level of discomfort, and I remember when we were at the Institute, there was a TED Talk from a young lady, and the first part was like, we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because there's growth through being uncomfortable. So with that discomfort, we still need to engage, right? And we need to make meaning of our current situation and create relational containers for the complex work, because it's hard work. Equity work is messy. There is no right or wrong way to go about it. You just have to be about it. And so the last part is the acting piece, right? Design approaches to learn more about and address the different equities. So this is a cool little, flow chart. And it shows you, you go from C, you go to engage, you go to act, and it's like circle leadership within this. You can go to the next slide. So there are 2 types of leadership. There's the traditional pyramid leadership, and then there's the circle equity leadership. And so they're not necessarily right or wrong, but there's an appropriate time to use either one. So with the pyramid leadership, this approach is most appropriate when the problems are simple, right? You got, an obvious, it might be complicated, but you have an obvious, solution, a goal, you know where you're going, there's an end in sight. And it's the dominant culture default leadership approach that we all know about. And so this approach basically emphasizes performance. However, with the equity leadership approach, it's a circle leadership. And this is when problems are complex, messy, and the solutions can't be known in advance. And so you have to develop strategies through experimentation and learning. This approach runs counter to our deeply entrained notions of what good leadership is, and this approach emphasizing learning. So I took this as saying that there needs to be a balance, and we need to recognize when it's appropriate to use the pyramid leadership and when it's appropriate to use the circle leadership. So that being said, when we were at the conference, this is all of the things we done. What you see in the bullet points, those are all of the things. So they brought to our attention like the effects of oppression. They had us apply things with a racial equity lens. There was one activity we did where they had these cards with different dates, historical facts pertaining to racism and just education in schools, that they had us do like a silent gallery walk. And we just walked around and you read them and you had to reflect about it. That was difficult. At times I was angry because I had questions like, why is this happening? Why is this still happening? And we are in 2023. It even talked about, opportunity for structured systems and advantages or disadvantages. The implicit bias piece was huge, and I think my colleagues and myself, we had a better understanding of everybody has implicit biases, and it's okay. The issue when it's not okay is when you're not cognizant and you're not self-aware, so you don't even realize that your implicit bias is showing up. And so then the same thing with engaging. They have us do this whole freedom dream to lead with purpose activity, what is your freedom dreaming? So a lot of journaling and reflection and bringing your emotions to the forefront. So if you're not somebody that likes to talk about your emotions and your feelings, it's hard for you. But I think it's important, a very, very important work. And then just the whole constructive listening piece and just the support group piece. So we had support groups based on our racial affinity. And for me, I felt heard and seen. I was with 2 other Black women who were phenomenal. One was an assistant superintendent. But what pained me also was the stories that we were sharing were similar, even though we were in different worlds and different places across the world. And so that made me sad. And I can't really share the confidentiality. But even just that piece, it's just the Institute is so powerful. They don't call it a training, they call it an experience. And indeed, that's what it was. And so then that last piece is just about actions. What actions are we going to take? And so we have to create the conditions and opportunities for shared leadership and agency. You know, creating conditions and structures for meaning making and emotional release and healing. That's why it's a healing framework. And then just trying to counteract those implicit biases and then taking responsibility for what you influence. Last week, I went to the pre-K through first grade conference in Schaumburg, and it was amazing. They had 2 keynote speakers. This one speaker, though, was named Dr. Tommy Mabry. You can look him up on Twitter. He's amazing. We should get him to come here and speak to the middle school students, to our staff, because he was everything. But there is one thing that he said that has stuck with me, that ties into me with the equity work. He asked the question, who benefits from your existence? And I think about that every day night. When I walk into Betsy Ross, who's benefiting from my existence? When I'm engaging with my colleagues, are they benefiting from my existence? So I'm going to leave you all with that, something to think about. But the Institute was great, and I think me and my colleagues, we all learned a lot, and there's a lot of work to be done, but I think we're ready to do the work. So thank you.
And then I'll bring it to our 2 board members if they want to add anything. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. One thing I want to add is just made very aware after going to the Institute and seeing things around town that equity probably needs to be defined, because some people don't know what it is, don't know what the work is. So as defined by the Canadian Race Relations Foundation, equity is a condition or state of fair, inclusive, respectful treatment of all people. Equity does not mean treating all people the same without regards of individual preferences. So it's not the same as equality, not the same as diversity, not the same as inclusion. Equity has to have a proponent of justice. It has to be very intentional. It is a lifelong work. It's not something you just do one time. You have to live it as part of your life. Part of our journey to get to this institute was not fun. We had delays with flight. I got sick on the way there, very, very sick. We had flight delays on the way back. But the whole time it was like, I was thinking to myself, like, I have to get there. We have to do this training, because from the time I came on the board, I wanted to have equity training, because I felt like being on the board, I can't give Dr. Alvarez direction to go to the district, and I haven't had that training. And one thing that kept playing in my mind is a story one of my friends tells Cup Stop all the time about bison. Jill Wagner tells the story about bison during the wintertime. They have to keep moving. Like, if they don't keep moving when the storm comes in, they just fall over and die, basically. So as I was getting sick and we were moving from gate to gate to gate to gate to gate, it was like, I had to keep moving through the storm. So that was one thing that was in my head going into this experience, not training, thank you, Ms. Huff. Going through the experience, like, I just got to keep going through it. And what I thought was going to happen is not what it was at all. Because I looked up on the training, but it was like, oh, it was completely different, which was in a good way. One thing I struggled with was the constructive listening, because I didn't know how to do that. I'm more of, I hear something, someone's telling me something, I want to jump in and help right away. So I had to really sit back, like, I've never done that in my life. So it was kind of a struggle of just letting that person talk and not offering any help, not trying to think 2 steps ahead of how can I solve this problem. And like, as the weekend went on, it's like I kind of got it and I saw the benefit of it. It was not for me to solve their problem. It was a lot of healing that, like, this person needs to heal from, especially when we did our support groups, this person is speaking to heal. They're not speaking for me to solve anything. And I learned a lot from people just listening, not trying to get ahead, not trying to relate anything, not trying to add to it, was very important, because a lot of equity work is about healing. Like, you can't go on, you can't do anything else. You have to acknowledge people's lived experience. You have to acknowledge that there has to be a lot of healing that needs to be done in this country first before anything else can be done. So that was a huge thing that I learned how to do. It's just that part. Also, there were times where we were able to get together and just talk, like outside of the actual information, where we sat down and it was just reconnecting. I got to see the principals talk and just see them work through collaboration. And it was just, I sat back, I was like, these people are great. Like, I knew that before, but now I really know it. And just seeing them interchange ideals was just eye-opening. And you're seeing the work and you're hearing them work through things. And like, this is exactly what I needed, because, again, like, I didn't feel like I can give direction without knowing the whole process. So I got a good view of that. And I really thank them, because we kind of talked about, like, it's kind of hard having board members there while they're doing their work. So them being able to be so open and having, me and Shannon there was great. And then it was just, we had that time to just be people and just to be humans and just talk with each other was very impactful for me. What else? I think a lot of stuff that they already covered that I was going to say, but the training was great. NEP reached out to me and Shannon about debriefing, and we're going to follow up with that. I'd never read nonfiction, but some of the books they brought up, I went ahead and added those, so I'm furthering my equity training. I signed up for equity at my job to do it, because it was really stuck with me. This is something that you need to live every single day in every aspect of your life. So it was a lot of changes, and I'm planning on carrying that through everything I do.
I will try not to say exactly what she said. I should have gone first, but that's okay. First, I want to say how grateful I am that I was afforded the opportunity to attend the Leading for Equity Institute. I find it very important for me to do the work that I am asking others to do. I was on the board 5 years ago when NEP came out, and we had a couple weekend retreats, but it is nothing in comparison to spending many hours. And we were together as a group. We were together with other people. I learned a lot about other people's experiences. I kind of think I'm an empath, and so that helps me in this work for myself. I strongly believe that educating myself on equity is important, whether it be learning about systems of oppression and how to begin to change those, or more importantly, learning about the thoughts and patterns and ideas that I have and how to recognize and change those for the betterment of myself and those around me. Again, to reiterate, this is lifelong work. There is no end, there's no achievement, there's so much to learn. And I sort of think it's like building a muscle that the more you do it, the more you think about it, it just then becomes natural, right? So it takes a little work in the beginning. The implicit bias part, when you see images on the news, in movies, you hear music, Ms. Cass had said, that piece, how much information that we're, not even aware that we're categorizing things, people, situations. So that is work to undo. And then also with the gallery walk, what I realized is there was, just in history, so much legislation that's been written keeping people from education, from being who they are. And, I was taught that we need to learn history so that we don't repeat the past. But until we actually teach real history, we're going to continue making the same mistakes. That is what I took away from the gallery walk. And again, it was really great. We as a board always get feedback from Dr. Alvarez, because that's how the information travels, about how collaborative our principals are. It was amazing, doesn't really feel like the right word. I couldn't find the right adjective, but as board members, it's not for us to get into that kind of conversation, but to sit and listen, and they really are collaborating, guys. They work so well together. The conversation was amazing. So when Dr. Alvarez is telling us that this work is happening, it is really, really happening. So I enjoyed the experience. When people ask how it was an adventure. Travel and about myself, and I am thankful for it, and it's still just a stop on my journey. It's a continuing process. So.
Before I go on, are there any questions?
I have a lot to say. The first is I have a lot of FOMO. I love this kind of stuff, but my life would not allow me to be there. So I really want to sincerely thank you all for taking the time Dr. Alvarez, my two colleagues on the board, for really putting your whole selves into this. I know it meant you had to take time out of your lives, kids, partners, whatever it may be, work, but I really appreciate it. Certainly this was our intention when we decided to approve the request for travel. It's a big lift, but if we believe in this work and want to share it and make sure people understand it's a huge priority for us, and that means that we have to put the resources out there, and you guys picked it up beautifully. So, my sense is that this is really just the beginning, and this is very much a lifelong thing that we will all be engaging in. Size, sex, color, whatever it may be, this is all of our work. I was looking on the slide, and I whispered to Shannon about scent, as and I was like, wow, I hadn't thought of that. I was like, but it's true, right? Scent, oh, thank you, Dr. A. Scent, language, and it's really, a couple weeks ago said something that I realized was not appropriate around ability, and I didn't, I didn't realize it, right? I think there's something, even for all of us who believe that we are self-aware, that you still make mistakes. And I think the way to work around that is to figure out how to gracefully and respectfully and genuinely say you're sorry and be willing to figure out how to learn and move forward. So I wrote down a couple of things that I'd love to learn more about. I will probably lean on my board colleagues for that, freedom dreaming. I'm really curious about that. Necessary space, I love as a better proxy for safe space. That was a terrible term. This idea of constructivist listening, I really, really appreciate as well. And then there was a point on Ms. Bogdan's slides about potential knowledge, skill, will as untapped. People have untapped reservoirs of knowledge, skill, and will waiting to be awakened. And that really struck me because ultimately our work is facilitating the work you all do, making magic with our children, and that's it. They are untapped reservoirs. And, I have a 7th grader. I'm going to start calling her Amelia Wishbone, by the way. I like that very much, Dr. Alvarez. I really do. Don't feel bad about it. But middle school is very messy. One of you all said this work is messy, middle school's messy, adulthood, parenting, there are traps everywhere. But this idea of recognizing that the people that are in front of us that you all get to work with every day have untapped knowledge, skill, and will waiting to just be let out is so inspiring, really exciting. I mean, I see it with my own 7th grader. I just keep thinking, who is she gonna be? It's mind-blowing, actually, a little bit. So that really, 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 really struck me, and I thought, what a nice way to think about ourselves as adults still learning, because that's what we should strive to always be doing, but also how this impacts our favorite people, which is our students. The one thing I'm really curious about is I wonder if there's a way that we can make this a digestible experience for our families in an appropriate way. I'm curious about this idea of a gallery walk. I remember when Emmy was in 4th grade, I think, and they did a history, I don't know, you had to dress up as your historical person, a history fair. But this idea of a gallery walk, I think could be really interesting as a way to help our family. They are asking, what does this mean, right? So you guys, I think, said it, but to bring our families in to experience something, a little nugget, I think would be really great. So I'd love to be thinking about that. I'm gonna stop. I could say a lot about this, so thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you for all who attended, because I think it sounded like it was a powerful 4 days for all of you individually. One thing I would like to hear in the coming months, future, how do we take what you guys got the opportunity to experience, live, digest everything that you had that during that conference, and take that from what the Bell Group is supposed to be doing for us today through the surveys, the caregivers, the staff experiences, and how do we bridge those gaps, and where can we add more to not only our administration, our staff, our students, and then even further into our community, because I don't think we the board hear about that enough. And so I want to see more on this topic in the months to come.
I will say that we did talk about part of our contract, we can have retreats again for the board, that we would like to do that again, so that everybody can get the same experience, especially us in the position that we're in. It is very important to have an equity lens in the decisions that we make.
Also, when me and Shannon meet with any people to be brief, like if you guys send us stuff, we can bring these ideas of what we want to do in the community as board members, like we bring it to the families. We can bring that up to them and say, is there a way that you guys already do this? Is there some guidance that we can get? We can take those notes, and when we meet with them, get some of that guidance.
And I will also say for our staff, we have introduced some of this already in our professional learning that happened last week. And we'll continue on. We have April and May left. And then our professional learning committee will be meeting, and we'll make sure that the request in regards to seeing this occurring within our schools is happening.
Dr. Alvarez answered it. I was going to ask, how is this is going to go down to our staff and our students as well. And so,
Yep. Okay. Moving on to our family and community engagement, our St. Patrick's Day Parade. So thank you to all our families and staff that were able to make it to the annual Forest Park St. Patrick's Day Parade. Special thank you to Nuri Suseta Ramos for getting us excited and representing D91 with our green spirit. Thank you to Steve Johnson, David McHale, Bonnie Doolin, Brenda Ali, Shannon Wood, and Monique Cotton Yancey, and our Forest Park PTO who decorated for D91. There were those along the way that supported our group, such as John Lyons, Stephen Rummel, Bob O'Connell, Amanda Skinner, Liz Daly, Tracy McCarris, and Chris Schorner. So thank you so much for the second annual. I know I myself could not be represented there. I was sad that I missed out on it, but I was there in spirit. And before our ladies here leave, thank you so much for your presentation. Yeah. National Read Across America. We had so much literacy occurring the first week of March. It was so exciting. I also got to read at Garfield, so thank you to Principal Stauder for inviting me to read. This is the second year of that. And then please check out our article on our website titled Ready, Set, Read that lists all the stuff that happened that first week. A special thank you to Mr. Moon, Chief Gross, Mr. Fergus, Mr. Murray, Mr. Choice, Mr. DePriest, Mr. Billingsley, Mr. Bacon, Mr. Russo, Mr. Cooper, Mayor Hoskins, Mr. Rummel, and Mr. Matthews for participating in Field Stevenson's Real Men Read 2023. It's always great when our children see one of our real men read to them. And then we greatly appreciate you sharing your love of reading and your favorite book with us. And then evaluations, I put in your weekly newsletter just the percentages in regards to evaluations, so you have that, but also wanted to state that all evaluations have been completed for certified staff and administrators. Non-certified staff evaluations are on track, and they will be completed by the end of the school year. What I mean by non-certified staff, there are the secretaries, the instructional aides, district-level people that are also being evaluated, but they all received their mid-year evaluations. And so I wanted to make sure that you knew about that. And then finally, FOIA, we had none.
Thank you. All right. Let's talk about committee reports. I'll start us off with teacher negotiations. We've got nothing. Board policy, do y'all have anything?
Nothing
No.
at this time.
All right. Finance, I don't think we have anything, right, John? Or do we?
No, we met last month,
Yes.
right before the
last
meeting.
meeting.
Yeah, so
Okay, got it.
I
So
don't
we're-
think we're up again until May, June.
We don't,
May.
okay. May, okay. All right, so we'll find a day for May. Very cool,
I
thank you.
think it's already on the calendar.
Is it?
I thought so. I believe it is, yeah.
Is it?
I think
Okay.
you sent out a whole year's worth of meeting notice, so
Oh, okay.
he's efficient.
Thank you for that. Thank you. All right, engagement.
Hello.
Hi.
We're going to start by thanking Shannon for handing out flowers for Women's Day and green carnations. Thank you for that. That was wonderful. Parade Day, y'all were very engaged. Great job, community. We, in working on our Forest Park Excellence Awards, are going to start forming our committee. I, in my haste and excitement last month, was like, we can do this all in like a week. We can't. It's going to take a lot of planning. It's still happening. It's just going to take time and planning, and we're going to get on that. And then finally, one of the cool things to report is that Soup and Bread is coming back to Forest Park after a 6-year break. If you are not familiar with Soup and Bread events, they are donation-based events in which the community comes together, eats free soup made by home cooks, bread that's donated by local people. It's held at a business venue that donates their space. Every donation that is collected then goes out to food outreach organizations, like Close to Home Examples or Beyond Hunger and the Forest Park Food Pantry. This is a super, super exciting thing to bring back. This, once again, will be a step toward fighting food insecurity, which is a cause that is very near and dear to my heart. So we're super excited to do that. And while it isn't directly related to the board, it is directly related to the community, because who doesn't love soup and fighting food insecurity and helping people? So that's community engagement for the time being.
Catherine, if people want to participate in the event,
If you would like to participate in the event, please do email me. But do it at my business one. That's the best way to keep everything separate.
okay, got it.
Yeah, if you would like to participate in the event, there's 2 ways that you can do it. You can contact me directly through my business email. If you know the business that I'm referring to, it's easy to find. If you would like to follow Soup and Bread Forest Park on Facebook, you can do that as well. And if you are involved in Takeout 25, there's information there as well. There's information literally everywhere. We are really trying to get this off the ground. We've got the next 6 months planned.
Got it. All right, thanks. Superintendent evaluation.
I sent out Dr. Alvarez's eval to everyone, and I believe I asked for it to be done by the 17th, which is next Friday. And then to come with some times, we'll have to have a special meeting to go over our evaluation, to consolidate it so that we can present it the next month. So, did you all receive it? If you haven't, please let me know. Okay, and
Yep.
then do you want to talk about dates?
Yeah, let's figure out some dates. So, by mid next week and then the following week, I think people are gearing up for spring break. So those are going to be no's. So really, we're looking at the week of the 27th and the week of April 3rd. What's that? Yeah, we can, yeah, sure. The question was, can we wait till after the elections? Yes, we can. That just doesn't give us much time. Is there a day of the week that's best for people? Let's start there. When did we have we had something on a Monday night that was off the calendar, right? That was our retreat.
Yeah, that was pretty okay.
That was pretty good. I had COVID.
I was going to say Mondays are my best days.
Mondays are your best days?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I did. I had COVID. Okay. Monday nights are good for you. Monday nights are not good for you. Are they? Fuquan, typically how are Monday nights for you? Oh, it's a great question. 6:30, 7 probably is the latest we can start. Yes. Okay, got it. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but okay. Are Mondays good for you typically? Okay. Catherine? Okay. Watch, I'm gonna say this and then be like, I can't. But I can. If we're gonna do Mondays post the 4th, it's the 10th of April. Yeah. So we could either do,
That's Easter, so we can do the
oh, you're right, that is Easter Monday.
27th of March.
What about the 27th of March? Folks back from spring break travel, we are back in school then.
I can do it.
I'd prefer not to do that because I get back into town the day before.
Okay,
That's my first day back to work.
got it.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. That's Easter Monday. Okay, so we've got one no for the 27th. Do we have other yeses? Yeah. Okay. Or we've got the 3rd, which I don't know if that's ideal or not, but
I don't think that's
that's not great? Okay.
only because of last minute stuff.
We could also do, I don't want to speak for people's weekends, and I don't know if this helps us, but like a Sunday, sometimes we've done, I don't see us needing more than like 90 minutes to 2 hours. I think it could be after 5. Could we do an after 5? Is this oh, that's my anniversary.
That day works.
Whew, okay. Oh my God, I'm like sweating.
Should we do a doodle poll?
Let's take this, yes, thank you. Ms. Barnes, can you help us with a doodle? Maybe tomorrow, and we'll, okay. Thanks, everybody. We'll figure it out. That was
Painful.
So that's, Shannon and John, that's the last piece of the evaluation, right? Everybody needs to do it by next Friday, and we will get a date set.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. What about PPC?
Hello again. Yeah, pretty standard meeting. We talked about, there's just some stuff, President's Day confirmation, things have been taken care of.
Yep.
Professional development committees, those have been followed up on. There is a retirement committee now to make sure that everyone is on the same page regarding member retirement. Evaluation, we just went over that. Evaluations are all going to be knocked out. Conferences went well. Extra duty proposals, we talked about that. Dr. Hubbard and Ms. Binder were meeting to go over extra duty stuff.
Yep.
And then some after-school weekend and extracurricular programs held at this space and the logistics of doing that. And again, there was a meeting to discuss that. And that was in between that one and this one, so.
Got it.
Yeah.
What about retirement? Is it, like, what angle of retirement? Is it acknowledgement? Is it preparation?
It's honestly, it's that we need to have procedures in place for announcing it and then how it's going to go about. Did I miss, is that one? Yeah.
Yeah, they just wanted information so
Yeah.
that when they're getting towards retirement, they have it. And then you can invite, TRS to come in.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, just to make sure everything's being followed in line. Yeah,
A tighter procedure around retirement.
correct.
Got it, okay.
Sorry, I could
you're
have been
good.
more succinct. I apologize.
Okay, cool. Anything else, Dr. A, from that meeting? Okay, we're good?
Nope.
Okay. CAC.
Yeah, I think the big thing that we are still trying to get is recruiting and inviting people to come in and interview so that we can get feedback for the recommendations we can make for the next year.
Yep.
As far as policy. So we're actively engaging that. If there are any people that are interested, please feel free to reach out to anyone in the CAC, including Monique and myself. And we're kind of in a rush for a timetable, so sooner would be better. That's about it.
Okay. And IASB delegate.
I have nothing at this time.
Got it. Thanks. Okay, let's look at items for discussion. Dr. Hubbard, you want to come up and talk about, we'll start with status of district finances.
Good evening. I'm sorry. I have 4 things to discuss today to go over, and I'll be brief. The first one is the status of the district finances. Just giving you an update that I've heard really nothing from the county about when we'll be receiving our revenue payments. The last update came in January, which they said we should get our payments in April, but they moved that date twice. So hopefully they send us some more information in regards to when we'll receive our revenue. Not that concerned about it right now, but will be if it comes to like June, and we still don't have anything. That's when we start being concerned about it, because now we're going into another fiscal year. So that's when it will be iffy. But hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Is there any other districts around us that are struggling financially that you've heard?
There are 4 that are really struggling, that have taken out loans, high interest loans, to pay payroll that I'm aware of. There may be more, but those are the only 4 that I'm aware of.
And you said June was our mission critical date?
I would say, because then how do you operate in a new fiscal year with
Sure.
old fiscal year money, and it'd be very messy.
Okay, thank you.
We could financially support ourselves past June, but it's going to be iffy on how do you put that together.
Sure. Okay.
The other update is, just to remind you that in April, I would be bringing to the board an amended balanced budget. This year's budget was created in conjunction with my predecessor, and as we continue to do things in the best interest of children this year, there's a couple accounts that we need to bring back into balance, but we'll just make sure we do that and have that in the April board meeting. Okay? And then the weekly announcements that Dr. Alvarez says will probably send you which accounts those actually are, so you can know and you can see them and what's being moved. Okay? Any questions about the status of the finance? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Alvarez. Next slide. Yep. And just updates on the STEM lab. Once again, thank you for your commitment to continuously improve the learning opportunities that we provide for students. And we want to make sure all students have all the opportunities. But building permits have been submitted and to the regional office. We are on track to start construction in June. So we look forward to that. We have already talked to the contractors and make sure they start placing orders for some of the materials that may have long lead time. So they're in process of doing that also. And we just look forward to providing high quality education for our students in science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math for all 3rd through 8th graders next year. And later on today, we will ask for your approval of purchasing the furniture for Phil Stevenson and the middle school STEM labs. So those quotes are in the agenda, so we could look over later on. Any questions regarding the STEM lab?
I signed the building permit. I was so excited. I just was really proud. I think it's a really big deal, for us to be able to do this. I was so excited to do it. I also have never signed a building permit, so we're gonna check that off. But I'm so thrilled about this, so thank you.
Thank you. The next item is just talking about the conversation about Grant White. And as we continue that conversation, if we do lease part of the building, any part of it, we could expect anywhere from $6 to $15 a square foot, depending on what we're offering to lease. There's a little over 17,000 square feet on this floor and 17,000 square feet on the second floor also. So it gives us some things to think about as we continue to plan and decide what we're going to do moving forward. The board did ask that I look into what would it cost to move the district office here. From some of the preliminary numbers in construction and working with our superintendent of building and grounds, seems like it costs about $70,000 to move the district office here, and that'd be on the second floor and only taking up about 40% of that second floor. and that cost can be offset by the selling of the district office. So it's not like it'll cost taxpayers anything. If we let go of that building and sell that building, that cost would more than cover the 70,000 renovations we need here. Any questions regarding?
I'm just going to provide a tiny bit of context for folks for whom this might be, like, where is this coming from? So nothing's happening.
Nothing, this is just research.
Nothing's happening right now. But we had reason to think more critically and carefully about what this space means, how we want to utilize it, share it with our community, you know, this time last year, we were on a different trajectory, and so now we have pivoted and are thinking about, okay, we have this really beautiful space. It's really, people are very interested in how they can participate in using this space, and so we wanted, before we even thought about making a decision about who else can be in our building, we wanted to better understand the value, the repercussions of potentially leasing it, how that would work, all of that. So this is really the start of just information gathering so that we can feel really well prepared, you know, if we get serious inquiries about people utilizing our space. And also to start thinking a little bit more seriously about the building on Des Plaines and its purpose and all of that. Can you share a little bit about what that $70,000 would entail?
It would entail, we need to convert 4 of the classrooms on the second floor into office spaces.
Okay.
And each classroom is large enough we could divide them in half and make 2 offices. So it would be putting up a wall, putting in some electrical outlets, doing some duct work for the ventilation up there and some new lighting up there. So basically we'd make 8 offices on the second floor.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And I know we've got like some HVAC work and stuff too. It's hot in here, everybody. So there's like some stuff that needs to be done as well. So
yes.
Any questions before we move on? Anybody else? Okay.
And lastly, my apologies for bringing this calendar to you again, the 2023-2024 calendar, but we need to accommodate the March 19th primary president election date. And in order to accommodate that date, we had to modify the calendar. And the proposal is just to move our April 1st TI day to March 19th. So we're just moving the TI day, but it does have to be board approved if we moved it, so that's why I'm bringing it. So we hope this is the last edit needed to this calendar.
You get no more after this.
Yeah. All right, and we ask if you approve that later on in the meeting, and that is it.
All right, great. So we'll revisit that
Right.
in just a couple of items.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Anything else for Dr. Halbert? Okay, great. Hold on one second, sorry. What do I need? This is what I need. All right, may I have a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of employment compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of employees, and the purchase or lease of property?
I'll make it.
Thanks. A second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. We're going to go into closed session. Okay, great. So we are back in open session. I'm going to go to consent agenda items to discuss in closed. Hold on one second, I'm sorry. I had a couple of notes I wanted to look at. Okay. There's nothing anybody would want removed, changed, right? Motion?
So moved.
Great, a second?
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Lyons?
Aye.
Ms. Fellow?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Mr. Rummel?
Aye.
Ms. Cotton? Aye. Ms. Wood?
Aye.
Ms. Tyler?
Aye. Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Number 13, possible action to approve resolution for the non-renewal of first, second, or third year probationary teacher. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. A motion, please.
I'll
Excuse
make the
me.
motion.
Thanks. A second.
Second.
And a roll call.
Mr. Lyons?
Aye.
Ms. Fellow?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Mr. Rummel?
Aye.
Ms. Cotton? Aye. Ms. Wood?
Aye.
Ms. Tyler?
Aye. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read this. Resolution for non-renewal, first, second, or third year probationary teacher. Whereas the teachers listed below were employed for the 2022-2023 school term as first, second, or third year probationary teachers. And whereas the Board of Education of Forest Park School District 91 has determined that these teachers shall be dismissed as of the end of the 2022-2023 school term and not reemployed for the 2023-2024 school term, pursuant to Section 2411 of the Illinois School Code, 105 ILCS 5-24-11. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of Forest Park School District, Cook County, Illinois, as follows. Section 1, that the following teachers are hereby dismissed effective as of the end of the 2022-2023 school term and not reemployed as teachers in this school district for the 2023-2024 school term. Valerie Gonzalez Malas, Thomas Smith, Daniel Duggan, Rachel Tunnell, Luke McGuire, Emily Morrell. Section 2, that the President and Secretary of the Board of Education are hereby authorized and directed to give these teachers the attached written Notice of Non-Renewal, Exhibit 1, by certified mail, return receipt requested at least 45 calendar days before the end of the 2022-2023 school term. Section 3, that the superintendent or designee shall also personally deliver a copy of this notice to the teachers. Section 4, that this resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its adoption. Of course. Sure. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Lyons?
Aye.
Ms. Fellow?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Mr. Rummel?
Aye.
Ms. Cotton? Aye. Ms. Wood?
Aye.
Ms. Tyler?
Aye. Okay. 14, items for action. Dr. Alvarez, consider recommendation to purchase Scholastic Rising Voices libraries in the amount of $63,295.78. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
I'll make the second. A discussion.
Okay. We are looking to partner with Scholastic Books to foster a classroom community from K to 5th grade through relevant and meaningful texts that supports positive representation and equity, where students of all backgrounds benefit as they gain empathy, respect, and understanding. This would mean that each classroom teacher would get about 100 to 200 books added to their library. Books and materials are also tied into social emotional learning and second step lessons, and in professional learning from Scholastic that if taken action will take place on April 4th. And you will see the packets on your, right by you. It celebrates girls of color, elevating Latino students, celebrating Black and Latino boys, empowering girls in STEAM, and along with that, thinking about how we could utilize it for independent reading, book clubs, literature circles, and project extensions, as well as looking to how to utilize family communication, scholastic partnership, enhancing that, and utilizing it through the curriculum committee to teacher leaders.
Can you say just a little bit more about the training on the 4th? Scholastic is coming in to do it? Did I
Yes,
hear that?
Scholastic would come in and provide some professional learning for our teachers regarding how to utilize some of the books that we have here.
Okay, got it. Maybe we can hear a little bit more about that when, at our next board meeting. Any questions? I'm excited about these. The illustrations are really good too.
One of our speakers, Trey, that came in, Baker.
Yep.
He's actually one of the authors in one of these books.
That's exciting. All right. If we're all set, we can go ahead and have a roll call.
Mr. Lyons?
Aye.
Ms. Fallow?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Mr. Rummel?
Aye.
Ms. Cotton? Aye. Ms. Wood?
Aye.
Ms. Tyler?
Aye. I'm really excited about this, especially in the face of a lot of censorship around children's literature. So I'm excited about this. Thank you to my fellow board members. All right, B, Dr. Hubbard. Let's see, consider recommendation to accept proposal from Frank Cooney for STEAM Lab furniture at Field Stevenson for $27,467.50 and Forest Park Middle at $63,406.47. I will make the motion. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks. Discussion.
This is more exciting news as we continue to get closer to making our STEAM labs into reality. This is the recommended vendor for the furniture for those 2 STEAM labs.
When can we see pictures?
If you click on the link, there's pictures of the furniture. There's some there, but we'll make sure we'll put it in the next presentation. Mm-hmm.
I think it's a calendar.
Oh, that was the calendar link, the link above them, sorry. Mm-hmm. Spent about 3 hours with the administrative staff, checking out furniture, colors, picking it out, sitting in it, playing around. It's a real good, nice makerspace furniture.
This is great. Okay. Any questions?
Really quick, this is just the furniture. This isn't like the technology stuff that we got to purchase.
No, just furniture.
Have you gotten any indication on what that might be?
A lot of that comes with the curriculum, and the curriculum committee is researching that now. So a lot of that technology and those pieces come as part of the curriculum for that.
Okay.
So when we bring those curriculum proposals, that'll be in there.
Perfect. All right, thanks.
I know she's scrolling through it. Is this is just furniture, right? Not lighting?
Yes, just furniture.
Okay, that's what I thought. Lighting is separate. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Other questions? Okay. All right. A roll call, please.
Mr. Lyons?
Aye.
Ms. Fallow?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Mr. Rummel?
Aye.
Ms. Cotton? Aye. Ms. Wood?
Aye.
Ms. Tyler?
Aye. Okay. 2, consider recommendation to adopt the revised FY 2023-2024 school calendar. I will make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Just to accommodate for the election date.
Got it. So everybody, there's a presidential primary happening next year. So hopefully this is it for us. All right. A roll call, please.
Mr. Lyons?
Aye.
Ms. Fallow?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Mr. Rummel?
Aye.
Ms. Cotton? Aye. Ms. Wood?
Aye.
Ms. Tyler?
Aye. Thank you. Okay. 15, additional matters for consideration from the board. Anybody? Oh, okay, go ahead.
I went to the literacy night at the middle school, and it was great. Just here, I ended up coming late because I came from work and needed care, whatever. But listening to the author just speak, like, she was very excited. It was very personal. It was just great. I love listening to authors talk about their work, and she was really engaging. The kids were answering questions. It was all different ages of kids, and she really engaged them, and just hearing her talk about her work was great. I hope that we can do more nights. It wasn't as well attended because there's another event going on, but she gave everybody copies of her book. I may have said I was giving it to my kid, but I kept it for myself because she did sign it, but it was great. I'm just hoping we do more things like that. Also, the parade was great because I love a good parade. What else happened this month? Just love all the things that we're doing and the extra things, and spending time with the families and the staff has just been great. That's all.
Anyone else? Yep, go ahead.
So I just want to put a plug in for Real Men Read. We talked about it before. We had a lot of people show up. I was over at Field Stevenson, and it was a blast. So I just want to thank the district for doing that and allowing us to come out there, because hanging out with those kids is like the best part. It was like the best part of my week. So thank you very much.
I had the opportunity to go to the third grade chorus. It was beautiful, harmonious. The children were so excited. I think the best part was the interaction between the Betsy Ross students and the third graders there. The Betsy Ross students came, they saw the big kids there, and they had many questions that were answered. It was just a very nice display of the transition of our young learners wanting to move on, and our older children really growing up. I also was part of Ms. Finn's presentation with robotics for the STEAM claim, and in that aspect, the kids, for the first time, they learned how to make they coded, and then they used their robots to make them work, and they were super excited about that. So I just want to give Ms. Bogdan her credit where she is due, and Ms. Finn, and the chorus, and everyone else involved with that process.
Great, thank you. I have just a couple of things. One, we spring forward this weekend, so we get more light in the evening, which I'm really excited about. Spring break's coming up. I hope everybody will do something that fills them, get a little bit of rest and restoration. Yesterday, was it yesterday? Yes, yesterday was International Women's Day. A huge shout out to all of the great women that we get to work with in our district who make this thing go, including our ferocious and highly qualified and exceptional superintendent, Dr. Alvarez. It's really special, I think, to be led by a woman. And so it was really nice. I happened to go to an event that a couple of us were at, and it was great to just see other people celebrating, great women leaders. So I would love to see that spirit all year, right? That continued energy. I filled out the 5 E's survey and also stood over my husband while he did his. And so please, I am begging people, particularly at the middle school. I know that we don't have as much participation. I think that's pretty natural as our kids get older, but please fill out the 5 Essentials survey. It's likely in your most recent couple of newsletters. It's really, really, really critical, and it takes a very short period of time. So please go ahead and do that. And then I will close by saying that my favorite person on this planet, which is my daughter, is going to be in the spelling bee, and hopefully we'll be able to share a link so that everybody can cheer her on. She's representing our district. I'm really proud of her, and I know she would appreciate the support. It's going to be March 28th at Triton. So just wanted to end on that note of a student doing great in D91. She happens to be my kid, whatever. Are we good, Liz? You look like you want to say something.
I just want to promote Pi Day because I'm so excited it's coming up.
Yeah, it is coming up.
Yeah, we're going to be doing so many different activities in all the schools on March 14th. So wear your pie shirts, eat some pie, do some pie work.
Yeah, awesome. I love pie. All right, so with that in mind, can I Gosh, a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make it.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's 8:58. Our meeting's officially adjourned. See you all in April. Thank you.